here. Conservation easements got brought up earlier, and I'm just curious. Earlier this year, Plum Creek, for approval of its plan, one of the key pieces of it was conservation easement. And there's two different easements, one with the state that specifically prohibits commercial water extraction. And then there's also the easement with the Nature Conservancy that has very similar language, but when it comes to water, it does not prohibit commercial water extraction. And that's just a little bit concerning since the Nature Conservancy and Poland Springs Nestle have the same attorney as well, and Poland Springs has been a major donor to the Nature Conservancy. And this just seems like it's being an issue across Lake territories, which it's over 10.5 million acres in northern Maine and some of the best freshwater preserves that we have. I don't think it's safe to say that we do have an excess natural resource of water. Many places around the world have had what seems like an excess, and then through overuse, that resource has ceased to be, which is why there's such a demand for fresh water.
Hill Arie,
I know, right.
I'll finish this up. No, that's okay. I'm wondering if your question really is to Poland Spring, is Poland Spring interested in getting water from the unorganized territories? Is that fundamentally?
That's one piece, and just also the fact that the unorganized territories, right now, they're redoing the whole comprehensive plan, and the issue of water extraction has really not taken as center stage as it seems like it should, considering the state of the world with more and more places demanding water. The unorganized territories are going to be targeted for this. So just to both of them, how can we protect these resources, especially in this unorganized territories where there's not necessarily the accountability to the public that there is in small towns?
Okay, thank you.
Actually, there is a great deal of accountability in the unorganized territories. We have two sites, one in Dallas Plantation, Maine, one in Pierce Pond Township, Maine, where we went through the LERC process. They follow the same process the DEP does with NRPA permitting. And those sites also have reporting, and the data is fully public for people to look at. Does Poland Spring have an interest in, the Moosehead Lake region, Plum Creek proposal area? I can say no. We're trying to, find places that are close to our factories. We're not going to Aroostook County or to jump up to Greenville anytime soon. And I think people miss the point that, water is a precious resource, but just because it's precious doesn't mean it's scarce. And in Maine, like I said, we had 60 inches of rainfall. We have 12 trillion gallons of water going into the ocean off the land surface in Maine. We're not talking about a precious resource in this kind of abundant environment that we're in Maine here. And that's why I think allocation and, changing the laws is off base without having, some real impetus for that.
Just a point of clarification, if you were to have a bottling plant in Greenville, let's just say, would that change it, or is Greenville still too far from your market?
I think we're getting off issue.
Okay.
That conservation easement specifically prohibits water extraction, so that's done deal, period.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for your question, Hill Arie. Go ahead, Jim.
I just would say that, we always hear about well, in this particular case, Mark is citing 60 inches of natural rainfall last year, but the average is 43 inches, which is still substantial. But it is not about how much is running off the entire state of Maine. It's done aquifer by aquifer. And when they measure in the Freiburg area, they look at the Wards Brook aquifer. In some ways, it's part of a much larger series of aquifers, the Saco Valley Sand and Gravel Complex that goes from Bartlett, New Hampshire down to Hiram. So it's looking at those individually, and that's where it really takes science and it takes money to make sure that what is being done is proper. And I go back to Ronald Reagan and trust but verify with
exactly.
With
that's what Freiburg has done. They've done 3 independent studies. They've looked over the data of the last 5 years, and they've determined that our withdrawal is less than half of what's available, given that Freiburg can continue to grow. There's a lot of water there. We're using less, about half.
That may or may not be. But
that's a huge safety factor.
But it is still the issue is still an issue of whether or not the state of Maine and the citizens of Maine are going to be part of this. And once again, not just for the present and the bottled water extraction of Poland Spring, but when there is other extraction that will come because it's a scarce resource, a valuable resource, After all, we pay more for bottled water than we pay for gasoline. So, there is some value there.
Yeah, just
Go
real
ahead.
quickly, that bottled water, if you buy